Welcome to Fox Talk Radio. I'm Chloe and I'm joined by Charlie.
The council approved a new skate park in Falmouth 3 years ago, but where is it? We asked the deputy mayor.
Have your studies been hit by the UCU industrial action? Students share their opinion on lecture strikes.
Wordle has a new competitor, Twordsy, and it's made here in Falmouth. Jennifer spoke to the game's creator.
Google Bard, a new AI chatbot, has launched. We find out how it fares when asked to write a uni essay.
You're listening to
Fox Talk Radio.
Now we're going to have a look at the wider news in the world that are making headlines. Here's Callum Walker with all the top stories from around the UK and beyond.
Opposition parties are raising questions about Rishi Sunak's priorities after he released details of his personal taxes. The Prime Minister earned nearly £5 million in 3 years, mostly through a US investment fund. He then paid HMRC just over £1 million, meaning the effective tax rate was around 22%. Labour claims that's lower than most working people. Tax expert Nimesh Shah says it gives us a glimpse into his significant wealth.
It's clearly a vast sum of money. We don't know exactly how much it is, but it's into the millions, and it could be anything from 5 to 15 to 20 million pounds of wealth. And that's a big number compared to what we've seen in past prime ministers.
Shadow Cabinet Minister Jim McCann reckons Tory policy is the problem.
It's not about his personal wealth. We knew that he was well off. It was about, but does he understand the real life, lived experience of working people in Britain? And I think the evidence says from the budget that he just doesn't.
Keir Starmer has revealed earlier he will publish his tax returns in light of the Prime Minister's tax revelation. Meanwhile, Sunak himself has dismissed criticism about the release of his tax affairs yesterday, which coincided with Boris Johnson being questioned about Partygate. This lunchtime marks Nicola Sturgeon's last ever First Minister questions, and she was upbeat about her appearance in the Scottish Parliament.
I'm looking forward to my 286th and final session of First Minister's questions. Thank you.
She's stepping down after 8 years in the post after revealing she no longer has the stamina to carry on in the pressured role. The 52-year-old will answer queries from MSPs before giving a final statement to Parliament as head of government. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates at midday by 0.25%. It'll be the 11th increase in less than 18 months. Ian King, business expert for Sky, says it's mostly because the rate at which prices are going up in the shops is so high.
Headline rate of inflation is more than 5 times the bank's target rate. Against that is the fact that there is clearly a lot of stress in the economy. House prices are coming off the boil, for example, but really I don't think the bank will have any choice but to raise interest rates this lunchtime.
Some of Britain's poorest families are having the 11th increase in less than 18 months. Being threatened with debt collectors, business expert for Sky, says it's mostly because the 1.3 million had their universal credit reduced, some because of errors with tax credits. One of those is Michelle Welch, whose benefits were being docked by £20 a month after a mistake by H&M Revenue Customs several years ago.
I felt completely helpless. I got off the phone and I was in absolute floods of tears because I just felt like, this is so unfair. Like, why have I got to pay this money because of a computer glitch? And there is literally nothing that I can do about it. And they didn't seem to care at all.
HMRC has now agreed to cancel her debt after accepting fault. Vicky Timlin from Cheltenham was told to repay more than £900 after a computer glitch.
I'm just, living day by day. I can't save, I can't go out. I just feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere fast.
HMRC has since accepted that Vicky did nothing wrong and has apologised, while campaigners are continuing to call on the government to immediately pause the deductions. In wider world news, the boss of TikTok will appear before a committee of US politicians later to urge them not to ban it. The Chinese-owned app is facing concerns over data protection, user safety and influence from the Beijing government. But speaking at a campaign event organised by TikTok, influencer Jeanette Oak, who has 1.7 million followers, said many young people rely on the app for work.
It's part of my everyday. It's now my full-time career. It's what I do.
And that was your wider national news roundup. I've been Callum Walker and this is Fox Talk Radio.
Today marks the end of a series of strikes by the UCU, which have impacted students across the country. But with deadlines coming up, how exactly have these strikes affected our students on campus? Reporter Tom Barwell-Best set out around the campus today to find out what students had to say, discovering that it had affected lots of people differently.
Send a message for change. Thank you.
I think as a student, it's really important that we get time with the lecturers and be able to use studio when we can, but if they're not in, you just feel a bit stuck sometimes. But we understand that they are striking for something really important, but we've almost had to adapt and teach ourselves and teach each other together how we can get through it. So it's a bit of a 50-50 opinion, I would say.
I think that, like, yeah, they're striking for important reasons, but it's kind of like disrupted our learning, and it's like fallen in annoying points where it's been like presentations. Yeah. But I mean, it's important. It's just
bad timing.
Yeah, can't be helped.
I'm sort of getting very confused with when I'm in and not with my lectures, but I do think the cause is right and everything, so I support it. I don't think it's affecting my work in what I'm outputting, but I think with the organisation, like sometimes I'm like setting an alarm, waking up really early, and then sort of turn up and I'm like, oh, it's a strike. Like, but I don't know if that's just me forgetting to check Teams and stuff. But yeah.
Sort of a little bit annoying. I had to miss a few days, but not that bad. I just did work at home instead, to be fair. They're a bit unexpected sometimes because they sort of just come out of nowhere, but yeah, they're not too bad.
Personally, I haven't been affected because none of my lecturers have actually striked, so I find it a bit not great. You can tell who actually is with a UCU and who isn't. However, I agree that this should happen, and in my opinion, students should take part in them as well. Maybe Falmouth is a bit out of the way, maybe that's why it's not really out there from students, but yeah, there needs to be a change.
Yeah, like I think they could tell us about it a bit more, because at the moment they kind of just say, oh, we can't tell you, and then suddenly we come in for our lessons, they're not there, and it's like important, formative like feedback and stuff, which we're kind of needing.
It's only really affected one module, and it's affected that one quite massively. And yeah, it's interesting. It makes you feel really like disconnected from the course. My frustrations at the uni rather than the lecturers themselves. The predicament they're in is just a wider representation of the financialisation of the unis and them functioning as a business rather than an educational institute.
So Charlie, what's your opinion about the strikes?
Well, I'm absolutely in support of the teachers and the lecturers. You know, they've got to do what they've got to do, but obviously they have to take care of the students themselves as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I definitely agree. And there has been a lot of strikes going on at the moment, not only within universities, but with junior doctors and the trains. So yeah, it's definitely all happening at the moment.
It's good to see people getting what they want, but they can't forget the reason why they're here.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. Falmouth is about to have a new mayor. Kirsty Edwards will begin her role in May. Emma met her outside the Maritime Museum to find out what her vision is for Falmouth and what her top priorities are.
Mayor-elect Kirsty Edwards is passionate about her vision for the town and has already begun carrying it out. Her work for Plastic Free Falmouth established her as a pillar of the community and has influenced her environmental focus moving forwards.
I think the Plastic Free Falmouth stuff is where it all began. It's where people saw that I really believed in something and I'm quite altruistic, you know. If I'm passionate and I care, you know, it's for no reason other than I want to do something good, you know. And I think that's sometimes we have a lack of trust and faith in people that are in the public eye. And I really hope that I've undone that for other people. So it's a huge part of what I do. Since I've been in post, we've now got a strategic environmental officer, and we've also got 2 environmental and education officers. So actually we've got already 3 new members of staff, which because we can't say we're going to do all these projects and not have staff capacity to actually facilitate them. So we've done a full carbon audit of the whole council. We've got short, medium, long-term goals. Everything we do, it's about everything we do now. So it's not just a standalone external thing. It's across all of our services, all of our facilities, everything we do as a council. So, and I don't think that would have happened probably without me being a councillor. And that's not to say that it's not just on me. It's a team effort always. But it is a massive part of why I'm a councillor.
Kirsty feels that her environmental policy has been so well enforced, she can now focus on other issues.
Major significant focus is youth and support services. I'm also just setting up a support group for parents of children with ADHD and ASD. One of my daughters is autistic, and I'm likely ADHD myself, so we're all just under assessment at the moment. And actually, I know still these gaps in my life, and I'm like, right, what can I do in my role then to try and support and fix that and help other people? So I think probably families, kids, but everything's connected, right? If you think about the donut, I work in circular economy as well. So if you think about donut economics, it's good for people, planet, you know? So actually anything that benefits the planet benefits the people. Anything that benefits the people benefits the planet. So it's all connected, so you can't pick it all apart. I just want to do good things for the town and be a good person and hopefully be a good role model to encourage other people to do the same. So I'd say that's my main objective.
As well as restoring heritage artefacts around Falmouth and building the first living seawall in Cornwall, Kirsty plans to use the students at Falmouth University to connect the community and drive innovation.
I'm trying to get the students and young people from the uni involved with the town and matching them up with people they can help. I really think the students are amazing, positive role models, and some of these young people don't necessarily have them, you know, particularly, again, it's all connected to the violence against women work that I do. Some young men don't have that male role model that shows them actually how to be respectful, how to treat women, how to talk to people, you know. Actually, if we can use these amazing young people we've got visiting and studying the town to actually become those positive role models for our local kids, I think that's an amazing partnership to have.
As a Falmouth Uni student, how do you feel about getting involved more in the community?
Yeah, I think that would be really brilliant. I think it is such a fantastic community, Falmouth and Penryn. There's so many amazing things going on, and I think it would really benefit the town.
Yeah, she seemed like a lovely person. I'm really excited to see where she's going to take her career.
Yeah, definitely.
A crowdfunder for Falmouth's Olympic skate park has gone live today. The once stagnant progress has suddenly exploded as donations have poured towards the goal of £20,000. Earlier today, I spoke to Falmouth Mayor-elect to see how her efforts and community have brought this back and into reality.
Falmouth's Olympic-sized skate park has been designed in the community for over a decade, and hope was running low until Falmouth Mayor-elect Kirsty Edwards brought new life to the project. What brought you to create the crowdfunder for the skate park itself?
So I was approached by the skate park committee about 2 years ago. They've been running for about 11 years, and they've come to a bit of a stagnant space where they've been pushing this project and it kind of dropped off a little bit. I think they felt that it was never going to get built, and while they had a good significant amount of the money towards it, they still had a really long way to go. So they approached me because they know that I'm quite into providing youth services. So we decided that actually we had a sort of three-pronged approach, really, that we needed to get community engagements, we needed to get out, talk to people, see if they still wanted it, which we found out they did. And then secondly, we had to convert that engagement into some sort of support. So that's things like we've been collecting signatures, and we've also been obviously started the crowdfunder. And thirdly, looking at other funding pots. So going around to applying, we've got about 15 or 20 different applications in for funding, from everything from Shared Prosperity Fund to the National Lottery, and approaching local businesses for sponsorship packages. So I think because it had been going on for so long, we needed to know that people still want it right now, and a crowdfunder was a really good way to demonstrate that. So it's not just about what money we earn, it's about actually showing that people still want the skate park. It's still a priority, even though it's been nearly 15 years since it started as an idea. And so historically there was one on site. So it seemed like a really good way just to show that the community was engaged and to raise us that little bit of money that we need to get to the target to unlock the final funding. So
while the price of the skate park is surely intimidating, Kirsty is keeping a close eye to ensure that they don't spiral out of hand.
We're about 325,000 at the moment, and we're trying to get ourselves up to pushing 400 through not just obviously the crowdfunder, but through the other small pots of funding. And then once we hit that 400 target, then we're much more likely to unlock the final funding.
How much is the thing going to cost in totality?
So it's got there's three phases to it. So first bit is the groundworks, and that's putting in drainage and taking what they call the bund, the big pile of mud, and then compacting it and spreading it across the site so it's ready to be built on. So that's going to cost about just over £40,000. That should be starting in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So we're hoping that will make people see it is really happening. And then the park itself, the actual build is pretty much bang on 500,000. So 540.
How much is the thing going to cost in totality?
So is the number to get to. But then we've also got infrastructure to go in afterwards. So that's next to the Dracaena Centre, which is a very popular centre for the community. We're going to be creating some additional parking for them so that we can make sure that anybody that uses the skate park and the centre have got somewhere to park. So, but what actually we're going to do for now is put in some environmentally friendly matting, which allows people to park on that sort of more gravelly stuff without worrying about getting stuck in the mud. That final bit is probably another 300,000, but we're not even worrying about that right now. We just want to get the park actually built, because that is the thing.
That's brilliant. So it sounds like you're feeling hopeful that it's all going to work out.
I'm feeling extremely positive. I think having seen this rumbling along for a really long time, and then the last year I've been really driving it. I've been going out to the schools, got a couple of pro skaters involved. We've got such a big, amazing committee that's really, really working so hard on this project that there is a will. We know it. So actually, all we really need the community to fill the gap of is about 20,000, and we've already done 36 hours in, we're already 8% funded. So if we can get to that 20,000, then we can go back to those other fundings and say people still want this. Schools, community groups, workplaces can get together and actually raise funds on our behalf as well. So and that's another thing that people can do. I know times are difficult, but if anybody wants to do any sort of fundraising activities on our behalf, that's another way you can help, or even just sharing the crowdfunder.
Kirsty's enthusiasm shines through, and her passion for the youth community in Falmouth is a driving force in its recent boom of success.
I'm feeling really positive and optimistic. I feel like we're going in the right direction, and I'm very tenacious, so I won't stop until the blooming thing is actually built.
Fox Talk Radio, local news from the heart of Cornwall.
Well, it's a wet and rainy day outside, but there's still a lot happening in the county. Here's the rundown of the latest local news. I've got the local news roundup. Cornwall rallies to give boy 12 the best farewell possible. Harrison Palmer died after being hit by a van earlier this month. A 67-year-old man from Hale was arrested on suspicion of causing death by driving without due care and attention, and on suspicion of driving whilst unfit. He has since been released under investigation pending further inquiries. Harrison's parents, loved ones and friends have paid tribute to their beautiful boy, and over £6,500 has been raised for the family after friend Natalie Blewett set up a Just Giving page, which many people took to the comment section to share how much they loved Harrison and what an amazing young boy he was. This comes as Cornwall Council sets out proposed rollout of 20-mile-per-hour speed limits across Cornwall. This change will see speed limits in most built-up areas of Cornwall, including Falmouth, cut from 30 miles per hour to 20. It follows a successful pilot scheme that has seen changes already made in Penryn and Camelford. The changes are being made in a bid to make the road safer. Map shows 5-year life expectancy gap between poorer and richer parts of Cornwall. A new map by Health Equals, which shows the average life expectancy in Cornwall per area, has found there is a 5-year gap between some of the poorest and richest parts of the county. The lowest life expectancy in Cornwall is in the TR14 postcode, where people live to be age 79 on average. This area includes Cambourne, as well as Clarence Wood, Troon, South Tehiddy, Tucker Mill and Praise and Beeble. Meanwhile, in PL27, PL28, PL29 and TR3, Wadebridge, Padstow, Port Isaac, Feock and surrounding towns and villages. The average life expectancy is 84 years old. The group's campaign, Lives Cut Short, calls attention to regional disparities in life expectancy, highlighting the millions of lives being needlessly cut short in the UK because of where they live. Carrie Hume, head of Health Equals, said, "Our members are diverse but carry the same message. The size of the UK's life expectancy gap is entirely preventable, but not enough attention is paid to how our health is shaped by our interactions with the world around us. We're calling on politicians to take action, doing more to understand what shapes our health and creating plans to improve opportunities for good health." In honour of World Poetry Day, which was on the 21st of March this week, More to See are holding Spring Poetry Walk on Saturday the 25th of March along Looe Valley Line. You can find out more on their website moretosee.org.uk. Here's a poem about Cornwall by Cornish poet Callum Mitchell. I was born into the outstretched arms of the coast, raised on beaches and farms, between the barns and the boats, and the land time forgot. The starved and the broke could see the path to success as the darkest of roads, so our hearts and our hopes are what keep us afloat. When in rough seas, it's easy to sink deep below or get caught in a slipstream and see dreams erode. But me, I find peace given freedom to roam and explore this unique piece of land I call home. To know each grain of sand, every stick, every stone, every street, every path, every cliff, every cove. It's under my skin, it's in my blood and my bones, because every story starts here, and I can still hear the ghosts of both Causley and Dark and the words that they wrote. I'm inspired by the illustrious past of Kernow. It's all fuel for the fire which when spark starts to smoke and grabs hold of one's soul in a way that can't be explained, but you'll not know what I mean until you've walked this terrain. Until you've explored the moors or climbed to the top of Cambrai, until you've seen Kynart's Cove on a cold winter's day or awoken one morning to views of Mounts Bay that can cause jaws to drop and have breath snatched away. As your flesh starts to tingle, your stress swiftly fades and the hairs on your neck stand to attention and sway, you'll say there's no place quite like it. Anywhere on this earth, no touch like the cold, salty kiss of the surf, no way to define its true meaning and worth. You can't claim to know Cornwall without seeing it first. That was a poem by Callum Mitchell. And finally, in local news this week, this Thursday there will be a sustainable product design Little Inventors exhibit at the Treetops in Falmouth campus from 4 to 6. Third-year students from Sustainable Product Design have been working with the local primary school to support children in designing their own inventions, and then first-year students have created them as part of their model-making development. And here's what happened when I spoke to a sustainable design student about this fantastic project.
So we went to Morning Primary School and we taught the kids about the climate crisis, what's going on in the world, and then we got them to create inventions to try and resolve the climate crisis, and then we've given it to the first years in sustainable product design to bring to life through cardboard, and then we're holding this exhibition for all the kids to see it brought to life.
That's brilliant. And what time can people come and check it out today?
It'll be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m, but the exhibition will be open for a week. Yeah, come down anytime.
Come along to the Treetops exhibit on Thursday evening to take a look. America's so-called first climate president, Joe Biden, has approved a colossal drilling project in Alaska. The news comes as a surprise to many who are questioning Biden's promises to fight the climate crisis. Leonora Ellis reports.
I signed a bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, the largest investment in climate and environmental justice and conservation ever anywhere in the world.
The Willow Project is a huge proposal to drill oil and gas in Alaska on the North Slope, which is the largest stretch of undisturbed public land in the US. This project was quite unexpectedly approved by the Biden administration, although it was initially approved by the Trump administration years ago. The hope is that the project will help offset oil production declines in Alaska, whose economy relies heavily on drilling. On a wider level, the Biden administration is trying to keep consumer energy prices in check. So in terms of the Willow Project's impact on the environment, there is the obvious effect on the climate, pumping unclean oil and gas into the atmosphere.
There are multiple reasons people are against this. One is the vulnerability of the Arctic. This is the largest sort of unexploited and open area of public lands in the United States remaining. So we needed Alaska's Strategic Petroleum Reserve 50 years ago in the middle of an oil crisis, but we don't need that anymore. We don't need to go to remote Alaska Arctic to get our oil.
It will also disturb the wildlife, species like polar bears that are commonly found in the area. This feels like a real conflict with Biden's promise to fight climate change. Climate activists and environmentalists like Greta Thunberg have been petitioning to stop the Willow Project. But I think what's really important is for people to look at their own country's energy policy and how they are actively fighting the climate crisis. So you can do things like write to your local MP, local councillors to fight for change.
Well, Leonora joins me in the studio now. This latest news from the US comes in a week when news about how the changing climate is affecting ski resorts. So, Leonora, what is happening to ski resorts across Europe?
So first off, last Monday, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released the final part of a really, really colossal 6-part report that spans over 8 years. And the message basically was we're at a tipping point. If we don't act now, we're going to be on the wrong side of that tipping point. So in terms of ski resorts, they're seeing huge impacts. So snow cover generally is declining, not just in Europe, but around the world. There's also extreme precipitation, and this is causing reduced stability on ski slopes as well. There's aesthetic implications, so people are literally seeing that glaciers in front of them are disappearing. And all of this is having a huge economic impact on the towns where these resorts are.
And how are ski resorts adapting to climate change?
So the most obvious way they're doing this is either starting their ski season later, or they're just cutting the season short. There are also artificial snow machines, but they're really struggling with the warming temperatures because they only work at a certain temperature. Luckily, most ski resorts have the infrastructure to put in place alternative activities, so mountain biking, grass skiing, dry slope skiing, but really they need to think about how they're going to combat the real root cause of the problem, which is our effect on the climate.
And what can we do to help?
So it's mostly up to government policy, really. Those are the people that have the most impact, and also the market has a role to play because companies need to be thinking about how they're going to invest in cleaner energy and learn to manage and hopefully a low carbon world. And then as individuals, we can definitely use our democracy to vote. So go to your local MP or councillor and try and make change that way.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Leonora.
You're listening to Fox Talk Radio, local news from the heart of Cornwall.
If you live in Cornwall, surf lifesaving is a sport that you've undoubtedly will have heard of. As a sport that revolves around sea safety, many children enrol every season. But this is not a sport exclusive to children. We sent Tavy Clark to talk to Martha. Martha came to surf lifesaving later in life and really caught the bug. This week, Martha and her teammates at Gilly Surf Lifesaving are travelling to Cardiff to compete in a national competition.
My name's Martha Dixon. I am 51 years old and I'm a member of Gilly Surf Lifesaving Club, which is based in Falmouth. Surf lifesaving is a sport that's becoming more and more popular in Cornwall. It's a sport that was invented in Australia by lifeguards, and it's all about training to become a lifeguard, doing all the things that you need to do to be a lifeguard.
Travelling to Cardiff,
it involves going out on a board in the sea, it involves swimming in the sea, it involves running on the beach, it involves being in the pool and rescuing mannequins. It's very diverse, but it's all about being fit and healthy and good enough to be a lifeguard. We've got the biggest masters crew ever from our club, and we're heading up to the national finals in Cardiff on Sunday, and this means we're taking part in the national competition with all the other clubs in the country, and we're competing at national level in this huge 50-metre pool, and we've got the biggest crew that we've ever had of people who are all in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, all taking part. And I think this means that surf lifesaving is getting really big with older people in this county, which is exciting. It never existed when I was growing up in Penzance. It wasn't a thing then. And I moved to Falmouth and enjoy swimming in the sea and noticed this amazing looking club on the beach doing really exciting looking things. And so I just asked about it and they let me join. It's the most fun, the most exciting, and the friendliest bunch of people. I would say it's a really exciting, interesting sport that if you enjoy a little bit of swimming, do join, because it makes it really interesting and it makes you want to get fit. So I would say really feel free to join. We've created a women's only group as a kind of a safe space for women to join, and we've noticed that we've had a huge spike in the number of women who are part of our club now, which is just wonderful. And these people who didn't really feel that confident swimming in the sea before, and now they're so confident to swim fast, rescue people. It's just fabulous to see.
Sam Burney is an entrepreneur at Falmouth University's Launchpad. His latest creation, the word-guessing game Twordsy, is inspired by Wordle. Reporter Jenny Wern spoke to him this morning about his game and work as a creator and a businessman.
Hello, I'm Jenny Wern, and I'm at the Stannery Bar over here on Penryn campus today, speaking to Sam Burney about his idea for Twordsy, a letter-guessing game inspired by Wordle. My first question is, how did the idea for Twordsy come out?
It was through playing Wordle. It was inspired by the Cornish air and by the creativity at the university.
What makes Twordsy different from all the other variations we've got going on right now?
It is, instead of on Wordle, you're trying to find a 5-letter word. Twordsy, you're trying to find a pair of words, and there's a connection between the pair.
Programming-wise, how do you come up with the words each day? How does that work? Talk me through that.
So looking through lots of thesauruses in terms of checking if words have the same meaning. And then in terms of word association, it's really random. It's every time someone's talking to me, every time I'm looking at something, I'm counting up letters and I'm trying to find 5-letter words.
Is there any way you want to extend the game? And there's the analytics on Wordle when it says how many times you've got it and however so many goes. Is there anything that you'd like to add to the game right now?
Yeah, there's quite a few things working on behind the scenes. So there's a daily game, there's also a weekly challenge. So if you get all the games right during the week, during the weekdays, there's a weekly challenge. If you go on twordsy.com, twordsy.com, and play the game, you'll see a big orange speech bubble, and whatever you write in there comes through to me.
Do you want to tell me a bit more about the Launchpad and the work that you do there? And you've spoken a bit about students wanting to be their own boss.
Yeah, so Launchpad's really, really innovative thing. You don't get this at most universities, maybe hardly any universities, which is just another arm of sort of Falmouth's focus on doing it for real or preparing students for real-world jobs. And the Be Your Own Boss program has been part of that as an introduction to what it's like to work for yourself. So many freelance sort of careers and options out there. Anyone listening, look for a job that you enjoy doing and gives you lots of variety.
One final question for you here. What would you give to young entrepreneurs, young people trying to get into business and be their own boss and create how you're creating right now?
If you are listening to this and you're at Falmouth University, then definitely go on the Falmouth Launchpad website and book a one-to-one session. But if there was one piece of advice that I could take from talking to lots and lots of other entrepreneurs, it's that you can't do it on your own. You've got to talk to others and particularly talk to potential customers. And that's really why I'm reaching out through the game. Like, play the game, tell me what you think.
Thank you, Sam. Any hints to what tomorrow's Twordsy is going to be?
I can't even remember. So the advantage of me not having a great memory, I plan the daily Twordsies a while in advance so I can play along as well now. It took me 5 to get it yesterday. That's
Wow.
I've had my memories.
Gosh.
Well, Twordsy sounds great. Unlikely to be an Olympic sport anytime soon, however. Luckily, we've got Archie Stevens here to give us a rundown on the latest in national sports. Archie, what's been going on?
Harry Kane could break England's all-time goal-scoring record when facing Italy in their Euro 2024 qualifier this evening. The captain is currently tied on 53 goals with Wayne Rooney. Gareth Southgate believes it's a good opportunity to show Kane has put the disappointment of his penalty miss in Qatar behind him.
We've seen that mentally his performances with his club and his goal scoring with his club, he's put it behind him, but I know he's going to have added motivation to come back and show everybody what he's about again in an England shirt. So for us, that's a good position.
Several England cricketers will find out their teams in this year's 100 later today. Ben Duckett, David Wiley, Danny Wyatt and Sophia Dunkley will be among those waiting to discover who selects them for the draft. Duckett tells Sky Sports News it's an interesting experience.
It'd be different. It'd be kind of take me back to a few years ago when it first happened, and yeah, I was pretty nervous then. But yeah, fingers crossed I end up at a good squad, and then I'll be interested to see, you know, who the teammates are going to be.
Roy Hodgson says it wasn't a difficult decision at all to return to manage Crystal Palace. The 75-year-old former England boss has been reappointed by his old club following the sacking of Patrick Vieira. Speaking to Sky Sports News after arriving for training this morning, Hodgson admits he didn't need to think too long about going back. Though with the sacking of Vieira, Yaya Toure says he's concerned about the opportunities for black managers in the game. Toure's brother, Kolo, was sacked after a 2-month spell in charge of Wigan, while Patrick Vieira has just been dismissed by Crystal Palace. Yaya tells Sky Sports News there are plenty of potential black managers seeking a chance to impress.
I've been myself and the license. I've been seeing a lot of black guys with me in there, and I think now what we're waiting for is just opportunity and just make the things going right, you know. And I hope the Premier League and the FA is going to work hard on that to make things happening. England
women retained the Arnold Clark Cup title last night after a high-scoring game against Belgium. After beating the Red Flames 6-1, England's Millie Bright is now targeting winning the World Cup with her country.
And I think, you know, even with all the successes, we're a very humble team and we still demand so much more from one another. And while this tournament was successful, there's so much that we can work on and push for and demand from one another. And like I said, we're always keeping 2 feet on the ground, and this is just a small preparation for the big one in the summer.
A study of 100 games played in the UK have given an insight into the volume of controversial journeys made by Premier League teams, some being short as 27 minutes. Recorded between the 19th of January and the 19th of March, the study suggests there were 81 individual domestic flights by Premier League clubs. Of those 81 flights, the breakdown was 59 flights for Premier League fixtures, 16 for FA Cup games and 6 for EFL Cup matches. The shortest flight was just 27 minutes, the longest 77 minutes. And the average duration of these 81 flights was 42 minutes. Dale Vince, chairman of League One side Forest Green, regarded as the world's most sustainable football team, called it shocking data in just 2 months. Now in local news, Truro-born 2-time Olympic rowing champion Helen Glover is aiming to go for her 4th Games in Paris next year. She came out of retirement to compete in Tokyo 2020 following the birth of her 3 children, finishing 4th alongside Polly Swan in the pairs. Glover, who is training with the British squad, won the women's single at trials in November. Helston Athletic women's team prepare for their semi-final game against Mousehole in the County Cup. Beating St Austell in the quarter-final, they're hopeful for the next round. Though in today's climate, players say cost of living crisis is having an effect on the club.
The money side of things and things like that, you know. There's lots of people currently working just to pay the bills, not having any sort of life.
Finally, Mousehole drew to Shepton Mallet on the 18th with 6 goals shared between the 2 teams. Despite this setback, Mousehole hold their 2nd place position, looking hopeful for promotion. And with the good form comes attention. The club are due to appear on BBC Football Focus on Saturday to celebrate non-league football.
Fox Talk Radio, local news from the heart of Cornwall.
Is there a sound you really hate? A recent study has found that 1 in 5 people suffer from misophonia. This is where people experience strong emotional reaction to certain noises. Emily Rubin reports back to us.
I headed into Falmouth town to ask people if there are any sounds that bother them.
Yes, people, you know, whether you sniff and they sort of make that horrible noise, that is really irritating.
Yeah, chewing gum, yeah. Especially when you're talking to someone and they're smacking away with no interest, yeah. No interest in what you're saying, just smacking away and looking into the distance.
Like whispering, yeah.
Ugh.
The cars, when their engines are too loud.
People that suck their teeth. After you've eaten, someone will go like this. Think, no.
The kitchen fan.
The kitchen fan.
Yeah, the extension fan.
The sound of my projector. The fan in that as well, that really annoys me. Snoring. Yeah. Sort of annoying car sounds. Oh, gun sounds in films, that really annoys me as well.
I hate when people eat like really loud with their mouth open, especially like family members and stuff like that.
Perhaps smacking the lips.
In the recently Oscar-nominated film Tar, Cate Blanchett's character, conductor Lydia Tarr, suffers with misophonia.
If you're here, then you already know who she is. Lydia Tarr. In 2013, Berlin elected Tarr as its principal conductor, and she's remained there ever since.
How's the writing going?
Not so well. I keep hearing something.
Schopenhauer measured a man's intelligence against his sensitivity to noise.
Do you ever find yourself overwhelmed by emotion?
Yes. Yes, that does happen. The sound of the air conditioning, that sound would have drove her to distraction because she's got misophonia. Misophonia is an acute sensitivity to sound. It's something that's been recently diagnosed, and it can send people into deep rage. Actors actually often on stage, and you can tell that the person in seat 8 in row G has a sweet wrapper, and they're just unwrapping it during, here goes, I'm just start the monologue, and there goes the sweet wrapper. And so it can send you into an absolute rage just if you see someone with a sweet, because you've got this anticipatory anxiety. They're about to unwrap that sweet, even if they don't. And so that's what Tarr suffers from, an acute sensitivity to noise, to sound.
Dr. Cilia Vitorotau, the first author of the study at King's College London, says this is the very first study where we have a representative sample of the UK population. Most people with misophonia think they are alone, but they are not. This is something we need to know about and make adjustments if we can.
Can you believe that it's been 3 years since we as a nation went into lockdown? What can you remember about that day 3 years ago, Charlie?
Well, it just seems such a long time ago. I personally loved the lockdown because it was a perfect excuse to be antisocial, and quite frankly, I sat around on Xbox all day and didn't really do much schoolwork. It was brilliant for me. What about you?
Yeah. No, I can remember when we were announcing that we were going into lockdown, and I was out in the car with my parents, and we were just thinking, this is madness. This has never happened before. So yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, been a strange time, but yeah.
It was absolutely terrifying, I remember, but, we're here now 3 years later.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to find out what people here in Falmouth thought 3 years on, so we sent Pablo Walls-Blanco out to find out more.
Today, the 23rd of March, marks the 3-year anniversary of Boris Johnson's UK lockdown. I'm here walking through Falmouth Town looking to speak to the public and some shop owners about how they feel the pandemic was handled by the government and how they coped during the period.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Now, I'd say I've kind of put it out of my head a little bit. It's, it doesn't really, I think that's kind of a human thing, just like forget about stuff very easily. And I think I have done. I'm still working from home.
I think they did their best at a very difficult time. And I actually personally didn't agree with the lockdown.
I guess they were put on the spot and they just dealt with what they thought was best. But looking back, obviously it wasn't the best idea. But when you're put in that position, you've got no idea what to do because it's never really happened before. But now they've got lots of stuff to learn from, and if it was to happen again or something similar, they'd have a better understanding of how to deal with it.
I think everybody did their best to do what they were told, but looking back in hindsight, was it all worth it?
Well, they were just looking out for their own interests. I don't agree with what they did, but I mean, it's a very unusual time for everyone, but slimy politicians.
I think a lot has come to light later on, especially with Matt Hancock, but I think, they were under such a lot of pressure. You wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I think they did their best.
Because a lot of people didn't get to see their loved ones. I know for me, all my family's in Yorkshire, so it was a long time. And knowing that they were just in a back garden partying is quite upsetting. But other people, I guess, are just quite ignorant and don't really see what's going on as well.
Here is our weekly music segment. This week we spoke to the B.U. Bennett Collective.
This is Funky Fox, bringing Cornish concerts to you.
I'm Naomi.
And this is Archie.
This is Fox Talk Radio.
I spoke to the Bo Bennett Collective. This band consists of Bo on vocals, Elliot on keys, Ben on guitar and Jack playing drums. They are making their mark on the music scene down here in Falmouth, and I asked them about their past gigs, their favourite songs they have released and what's in store for them.
We have done so many gigs, even though we've been a band only since September. I feel like we've just got very used to doing the gigs and like, I don't know, and we're very used to like improving, like if something does go wrong or like,
the
you know.
musicianship's like really good, so if anything would go wrong, we'd be able to kind of fill in the gaps, but we're also quite well rehearsed.
Yeah.
Also, it's something you don't get unless you've been on stage. You can't actually see people 90% of the time. You're so focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or even the lights are so low for the audience.
Yeah, Princess Pavilion, I couldn't see anyone.
So you can't tell.
I think the thing you do is you just, like for Princess Pavilion, we all said to each other before, we were like, we need to bring like 10 times more energy than we have to the other gigs because it was a bigger venue. But I'd say my favourite song that I've written is definitely Palette. And then my favourite song we've performed is a new interlude, actually, which we just came up with a few weeks ago. But performing that at Princess Pavilion was 100% my favourite. At the moment, it's just called Interlude, so it doesn't have a name.
That's my favourite, and just the whole arrangement of it is beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And also, because it's, like, not exactly a structured song yet, it's really nice that we kind of can all, like, I go quite crazy, and everyone else sort of just, we all, like, improvise a little bit, which is something I think we do well as a band. We always sort of, like, feel when to end a song, or, like, I don't know, if something ever goes wrong, in quotation marks, it kind of, like, I don't know, I think we cover it up quite well.
Favourite ones to play for me, maybe our new version of Palette, which we've recorded for the single, and maybe Haze. Nice that when people go, what genre is your band? And we'd go, I don't know. I think that's a good thing. Kind of suggests that we're hopefully up and coming with something that hasn't been heard of before. And the reason we don't sound like anybody is because your sound is when you fail to sound like who you want to sound like.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, all these people who wanted to...
Sorry, giving up with all the quotes. I didn't know you were that wise.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean?
You don't want to copy and
like,
paste something, yeah.
Like, I play guitar and perhaps try and play like John Mayer, but I don't do that because I'll never be able to. No one can because he's John Mayer or whatever. But then, because by failing to sound like him, I sound like me.
But also, especially what I'm doing with my vocals at the moment, it's quite like London Grammar-esque, like, moments. Very, like, a bit kind of like hypnotic stuff at the moment. Well, we've got an EP coming out, hopefully in June, which is definitely still in the works, but that is the aim. We just spent like 2 days, the boys, we did 1 day as a band and I did 1 day by myself, but we spent some time in the studio, in Truro Cube Studio, sort of recording some of our songs, and yeah, aiming to release Palette sort of April, May time as a single.
I hope to do a little tour as well.
Yeah.
Of some festivals in the summer.
And we definitely have discussions about like where we want to, the direction we want to go and things like that, but took quite a lot of different covers and like sort of did different arrangements. I do think that helped when we were first starting out.
This week, Google announced their new artificial intelligence chatbot platform, Bard. To tell us about it, here we have our technology editor, Bobby Angelov.
Thank you. Yes, as you very rightly said at the beginning, at the beginning of this week, we had the new artificial intelligence chatbot called Bard. Which could possibly be a competitor to the now very well-known Chat GPT. Before we start to talk about our story for today, just to shortly summon what does AI mean for those who happen to not know. So it stands for, obviously, artificial intelligence. It often refers to computer systems that can perform tasks that usually require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and natural language processing. But it is not something that that has been sort of coming from the past year or two. Now it has just become very implemented into our daily lives. But things like Siri or Alexa, they're also artificial intelligence, and they've been around for a very long time. But with ChatGPT as well being around for a few months now, and it's definitely a topic that has split opinions on whether the use of it is bad or good. But when you take a look at today's, the process of how chatbot is able to generate essays or create stories based on certain scenarios. But so our story today is that we generated one on the topic of social media as the gatekeeper of truth, which is an essay topic that is usually given at first-year students, journalism students at Falmouth University. The course leader, Andy Chatfield, graded the work, which we generated, and here's what he had to say about it.
What's impressive about this essay is it touches on a number of relevant themes, and it highlights the inherent features of social media which make the dissemination of fake news such a problem. And the use of language and grammar are particularly impressive, especially if this was a first-year student. There's no errors in it whatsoever. It's direct, it's accurately composed, and it's kind of tonally right too for essays. But there are some kind of odd weaknesses, repeated phrases which make it over fussy and rather difficult to read. There is no supporting evidence or any cited sources at all, and I would consider this a serious flaw. So I suppose overall what I'd say to this student is it shows a good grasp of the tone and structure of academic writing and presents a clear but rather shallow argument. But the absence of any explicit evidence to underpin the research and the statements that the student makes, probably I would fail this, but a narrow fail.
This was Andy Chatfield, course leader for journalism and creative writing at Falmouth University. But as you just see, this work that you could actually read on our website, truthhour.com, fully could get a good but a good feedback. Many Russell Group universities are split on their approach on how to work with ChatGPT's and similar software. So, Oxford University, Edinburgh, and York have banned it and sort of similar technology. Cambridge University have stated that they recognise that artificial intelligence chatbots such as ChatGPT are new tools being used across the world, and it will allow students to use the system as long as it's not for coursework or exams. And I think it will be very interesting to see how artificial intelligence further develops and whether it can be used for good. I mean, many students with learning difficulties have said that it helps them quite a lot, especially breaking down big books or the chunks of data. It could very much put it into a few sentences very well. But at the same time, the platform does not credit anyone that they use their resources for, so in a way it's stealing. Who knows? Before you know, as we heard the song before me coming up, that song could be written by AI. What do you think about it, Charlie? Have you used ChatGPT before?
No, I can't say I've ever used ChatGPT before, but I will say that the concept of AI is very, Terminator to me. It's very scary, robots over on the world, that sort of stuff.
Yes, very much so. You could read our full story on our website right now, truthhour.com.
Thank you, Bobby. That's all from us today at Fox Talk Radio. If you can't wait for next week, keep an eye on our social media to get your fill of Cornish news and get what's going on in our newsroom. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Fox Talk Radio. Now, to play us out, we have B.U. Bennett Collective's top track, Haze. See you next week.
See you next week.
The grasp of my hand is making me dizzy. The sense of us is good enough for me. But sometimes it haunts me when you talk like that. Never knowing if I'm all there. But I just wanna be all you want. I need. I hope I'm not gone. But will this ever be love like that? And the rib, it wasn't whole. It's all apart in steady stages.